bittersweet.tv. It is 9:30 here on the East Coast. Welcome. You're seeing the bumper. And that's not all you're going to see, but first we got to get this recording going and make sure that we have it recorded. And we are watching carefully the stream that goes to Facebook, it goes to Twitter, and it goes to YouTube, and everything seems to be stable. Thank God. Okay. Well, we've got an exciting guest for you here in our green room. Our chat room is eager to hear what she has to say. So let's start a countdown to Studio 39 Alpha, the PJ Net Cafe. Well, good evening and welcome to PJNet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Brasic, and for the fourth time, we have a visitor. Now, most of you are wondering, well, where is Michelle Medlock Adams? Well, if you'd have been here last time she was on, she alluded. She outright said that she had just gotten in. They're taking off, taking a little vacay, and so she always does a great job of lining up somebody to stand in her place. Except tonight, she. We are blessed. Shannon, you realize this is the fourth time that we have had the fun, the honor, the privilege of having you join us, and just let's relax here in the PJ Net Cafe. I see all of your children's books behind you, but I always, when I think of you, I think of a person that not just loves teaching, which I think anybody would readily observe that, and you would admit that. Would you consider teaching a calling in your life?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure?
I love it.
And you have instilled that in your daughter as well, haven't you?
Well, she didn't have a choice when she was younger. She was my helper automatically when I had, Spanish camps and writing camps and things. She just by default had to be my helper, and most of the time it was younger kids that I was teaching, and so she would come along and help me out, and I think that's where she kind of got the bug and wanted to continue to do that and to keep teaching kids. She loves kids.
No pressure from
Yeah.
you or no. I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I have observed a defect, and I have been careful as a parent not to push my daughter into any career path. A very good friend of mine, a loving parent, was a Marine, and of course he wanted his sons to go in the Marine Corps. Well, one did actually go into the Navy, which that's kind of like the Marine Corps. The Navy gives the Marine Corps a ride when they need to go somewhere by boat. Until they get close to shore, then the Navy says, "Here, you go ahead. we'll be right back. We're behind you, way back here. But his other son was not athletic. He was very academic, but he had no interest in the military whatsoever. And my friend was grieved. I mean, seriously grieved, and disappointed, and expressed it to his son. And I told him, I said, his name was Christian. I said, if your son decides to be a music guy or a theater guy, I mean, whatever, can't you be proud of that? And he was quite honest in his answer. He said, no, I can't. So, Christian is gone to be with the Lord today, so he doesn't have to bear the burden of his younger son being an engineer. Brilliant one, and went to Berkeley, California to get his education. What kind of education you reckon he got there? But no pressure from you. Your daughter just saw your passion, and decided to go into the teaching. And she got her first job this year, right?
She did. And all transparency, I did actually try to talk her out of teaching. I told her, just because this is something that you're familiar with and that don't feel like, that's something that you have to do. And she was my cadet teacher when she was a senior in high school. So I had the wonderful experience of having her come into my classroom every day for a couple of hours her senior year of high school and be a cadet teacher under me, which was amazing. And she said at the end of it that she really did want to go into teaching, and that's what she majored in. And She was able to graduate in 3 years from Grace College, and her eyes were set on this particular school. She really wanted to teach a private Christian school. We didn't have that opportunity here in our town. We're a really small town. We have public school, and that's what I've taught in for 25 years. So I never got to attend a Christian school. I never got to teach at one.
Really?
But Emily, knowing she was getting married this summer and going to be living in Indianapolis, where her husband works, she was searching for jobs in Indianapolis, and she had heard of this school called Heritage Christian, and she just, from the first time someone told her about it, she wanted to teach there. And she did interview there. It was an online interview because everything was,
It's the times we live in.
distanced.
Yeah.
And it was the day before her honeymoon that she had her interview, and she did it right here in this spot. Actually, the principal interviewing her asked if she was in a bookstore. And
Did
so
you say
yeah, she
yes?
had her interview right here, and they said, give us a call when you get back from your honeymoon. We'd like to have an in-person interview when you return. And so she did that, and she did have some other interviews, but she ended up getting the job. And she not only got the job in her first choice school that she wanted to be in, but she had student taught first grade, and that's the position she ended up getting. She is a first grade teacher. So yeah, God really worked that out for her in mighty ways, and we couldn't be more thrilled.
Well, if I were interviewing someone for any position, regardless of what it is, if I knew that they were leaving for their honeymoon the next day, you know what I would say? Let's have an interview when you get back. I don't. I don't think that would. I was once being interviewed, and the person. This was back in a different day. A lot of people smoked, back in those days. So the person I'm interviewing is smoking, and they realize they've run out of cigarettes. And I suspended the interview, saying, "Go to the store. I'll be here when you get back. I don't want to talk to you when you're out of cigarettes, because you're not going to be concentrating on anything I'm saying. Your mind will be elsewhere." And they were taken, but they ultimately hired me. Is the irony? But I was sincere. I said I'll reschedule if we need to, but otherwise go to the store. There's a little store right down the road there. I have had my staff, when I would run out of Copenhagen, they would go get me some because they didn't want to be around me. First grade, that was her preference?
Yeah. Yeah, there are so many blessings through all of the hiring process that happened for her, between, getting her school, getting her grade that she had hoped for. And then also it just so happened that this school, there's a lot of longevity there. There's not a high turnover rate. And there just happened to be lots of people retiring at the same time, and also they're growing, and so they were expanding and hiring more people. So in 1 year's time, they were hiring 10 people. And as I told her, that is such a good thing, because if you're the one person that gets hired, then sometimes people forget about you, that you're the newbie and that you don't know what's going on. And they might just move through things more quickly, or forget that you don't know how to do this thing. But when there are 10 of you there, that's a significant amount of people that would need some training and that would need to know what's going on. And so she's in a great position where she's with a lot of people learning at the same time. She doesn't have to feel alone or feel like she's the only one that doesn't know what's going on. So that's been wonderful too. And one of the teachers that is in first grade with her just started the year before. And I said, well, that is awesome too, because she knows exactly the position that you're in right now, because she was there last year. So she's going to remember those things that, she didn't know how to do, or where to find things, or who to ask about this or that. She'll have that fresh in her mind. So she really had a good start. Well, at least until she got to her first day.
We'll get there. When you mentioned that she was one of 10 new hires, apparently I've I've missed out because I would like to be one of 10 new hires, because new hires are the target of hazing and practical jokes. So if there's 10 of you, you're a little bit less of a target. If you're the only one, you're more of a target. That did not seem to be the case with your daughter. Do you remember your first day in school as a teacher?
Sadly, I do.
Mm.
Actually,
How'd it go?
I shouldn't say sadly for my first day, but when I first came to the school that um, that I ended up teaching in the longest, I just remember there being some older teachers coming into my room and looking at some of the things I was doing that were different and basically pointing that out. This is not how we do things around here, and this is not how you do this. This is not how you set up your calendar. And I just remember feeling out of place and, like, what am I doing? And so it was a really scary spot to be in.
Now, what grade were you teaching?
First grade.
First grade. Now, let me ask you a question. These people come in and say that's not how we do things. Well, tell us exactly what it was that you were doing that they said that's not how we do it. I mean, was it nonconformist? Was it radical? Was it?
Well, no, not at all. It was some just little silly things, like, for example, I like to teach thematically, and so I had big things on the wall, about, we're going to be talking about different cultures in this area, and we're going to be talking about this. And I had a science center set up, and my calendar was set up, instead of having certain circles and triangles with the dates on them, I actually had themed pictures of things on the calendar for each day. And so it was still a pattern, but it was just different. It wasn't their circles and triangles. It was something that went along with what we were teaching. I was trying to integrate everything. And that was not what they were used to seeing. And so I felt like an outcast kind of right away in my school.
How much, in your opinion, is the environmental influence impacting a student as opposed to just giving them the information? Does it really matter?
Yeah, it matters. I think so. I always had my room. I always told my students that my room was not a classroom, that it's a family room, and that we are a family, because we're going to be spending more waking hours in the day together than they will with their own family, if you think about it. During the school week,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're spending more
And
time at school. And so this is our family room, and we are a family. I had t-shirts made that said all for one and one for all, and it was Team Anderson. We had a big 3 on the back when I taught third grade, and everyone signed the 3. So instead of like a sports team where you have one name across your shoulders, we had everyone's name on our back because we had each other's back, and we were one big family. And my room, I got rid of all the desks, and I had tables. I had high like bar stool tables with high stools. I had couches, I had armchairs, I had low stools and low tables that you could sit on the floor on cushions. And I just tried to make it as comfortable and inviting as I could, so it didn't seem like an institution. And if you're going to be sitting all day and learning all day, wouldn't you rather be comfortable?
Shannon, I'm amazed and I'm impressed, and I'm inspired. But I will ask you this: don't try to teach in the Marine Corps. It would not end well for you.
Not allowed to make them comfy.
Diversity and yeah, no. I'm glad that you are okay. You were putting a lot of passion, a lot of effort into it, because you do think of it more as a calling. It's not just a profession. It's not just a job, although it is those things. It's about relationships, and you're really putting yourself into it. So, okay, so things have changed in the past year and a half. How do you do that when you don't have that classroom to hang all the little pictures and tables and
Yeah,
chairs and stools, and how
I
do you
know. And
how
that
do
was
you
so
maintain that
hard.
level of innovation in a virtual environment?
Well, virtually it's really hard. I had to do a lot of changing so 2 years ago when we were kicked out of school, in March, and everyone had to leave and go virtual. I had to try to be really creative. So I just did silly things to try to keep the kids, engaged and so that they would actually look forward to getting onto, our Google Meets and things. I would dress up like Miss Frizzle. I dressed up like Jane of the Jungle. I had all these different costumes and things that I would wear and say that it was the guest expert that was coming to teach them their lesson today, but they knew it was me, but I would never tell them that it was me. I would say it just looked a lot like me because we're related. And so we just did silly things. I gave each of them like a little, I had these cutouts made of me that were 7 inches tall, and I sent them to all the kids, and they had to, for a writing assignment, they had to take me, the mini me, on an adventure. So, they were quarantined, but they could still go around their homes and outside. And oh my goodness, the pictures they came up with of me, riding, we're a very rural community. So I ended up on pigs and horses and dirt bikes and all kinds of things that they they taped me on, and I went for rides. And so they had to come up with a writing of the adventures of their mini teacher. And so I got to be with them in that way. And then we would share those together. So just trying to be innovative and creative in ways that we can still have fun together and still get some work done, but in ways that that cause us to want to be together. We had picnics at lunch sometimes. I would say, okay, everyone bring your food to the computer, and we would eat together. And so, just chances to bond still, because it was a hard time when we first had to be apart.
I now realize what's wrong with me. Because when I went to school, it was like this: sit down, shut up, be still, listen. And the next thing I'm going to say, I'd like to get your opinion on it, and I don't know if it affects first grade, or the levels that you teach, but getting the right answer wasn't enough. You had to show your work. Do you realize there are people out there that are wailing and screaming that this is wrong to ask them to show their work? And I won't go into their reasoning. What's your thoughts on showing your work?
Well, I have mixed thoughts. As a student, I hated to show my work because
Of course,
I
because you
thought
couldn't
of
cheat.
creative ways to solve math problems, and I could come up with the answer, but I couldn't tell you how. I just knew. And I had ways that I could check it to know if it worked, but I couldn't explain to you how I got there. And so I always struggled with that as a student. But sometimes I get where some teachers are coming from, where they want that proof that it was in fact your work, and so they want you to show the work. The other thing, the reality is, on the standardized testing, on the parts that they have to, do some of the story problems that are multi-step problems, they can get partial credit for showing their work. So even if they end up with the wrong answer, they can
Hmm.
get some points for, correct answers along the process
Right.
of getting there. So
Because we were taught, problem solving, developing a problem solving strategy. Zig Ziglar said this: if you knew everything that there is to know, you would be worth about $300, which at the time was the price of a set of, well, this is telling how old I am, an encyclopedia.
oh,
He says, but learning how to find out how to find out. How do you solve problems? When I was going through school, they knew that we were preparing ourselves for careers that didn't even exist. I mean,
we still are.
yeah, and so the emphasis was on aptitude, not knowledge, aptitude, the ability. I mean, math problems, word problems. It wasn't enough to know the fundamentals of math or even the advanced disciplines of math. You have to know how do you, when presented with a unique situation, develop a problem-solving strategy to apply what you know to the problem to devise a solution. And I don't think that's present today. I'm pretty darn sure of it. And I think we're going to pay a price, but that's not why we're here. So you do remember your first day, and you had somebody that had just started the year before that was kind of your mentor. So now your daughter goes off to school for, and I assume this is in another town, so you're
Hmm.
physically separated, and you just want to help, you just want to be there, but you can't. You can't be there. I wonder if she can hear me at this point. Can you hear me, Shannon?
I
No,
can. You
she.
froze up a little bit.
Okay, here. Yeah, I'll tell you a little secret. We didn't talk about this before the air. On your screen, you will see a button where you can mute your camera. And if you will just mute and then unmute your camera, that usually clogs up these little problems like we're experiencing right now.
Okay.
There's a microphone icon, and there you go. You cleared right up. How about
Okay.
that? See there? Isn't that
We're back.
something? Yeah, I know. So it must be a bittersweet moment when you're so proud your daughter's going and starting, down the same path you've been, but yet at the same time, that mother in you wants to help her, but you can't.
Yes. So, that has been there were so many milestones so close together in May. So she graduated from college, she got married, and soon after, and then here she is. She gets her job, and so I was fortunate enough that I got to go several times over the summer to help her set up her room. I brought her van loads of my classroom because I just recently resigned from teaching to write full time. And so I was able to be there helping her set up. And I was starting to get that feeling that, oh, she doesn't really need me as much anymore because she's an adult now. She's married. She has her own job and they have their own apartment. They're building a house, all these things. And you feel like, is your momming over? But her first day of teaching, I prayed for her all day. I was so excited for her. Couldn't wait. I could just kind of picture her in that room because I had been in there, most of the summer helping her.
Mhm.
And I called her after school that day and I said, well, how'd it go? And I knew that the way they do it is the first day of school and the second day of school, they have half of their kids. So she only had 18 students total. And so she had 9 that first day, and she was going to have the other 9 the second day. That's just something that their school does.
Hmm.
So they can really get to know those
Okay.
kids.
Mhm.
And I could tell something was wrong and that she was a little choked up. And so I was like, what could possibly have gone wrong? You had 9 kids, how hard could it be? And then she told me that she found out she was being quarantined. And so it was shortly after she had just gotten home from her first day of teaching. And she was heartbroken because, I all summer as we were setting up her room, I was telling her how crucial, how important those first couple of weeks of school are. That's your bonding time. Don't worry about any of the academics because you have got to, set, a
Mhm.
good atmosphere right from the beginning and bond with those kids, set your routines and all of these things. And then here she was, and she wasn't going to be allowed to return for 2 weeks. So, of course, her thoughts are, you know, running wild. What's going to happen? Is she going to lose that bond? And then she said, "Mom," she's like, "I barely know what I'm doing, and so how am I supposed to make out detailed subplans for some person that's coming into my room when I don't even know like
Mhm.
how to work, all of
Yeah.
these different things. Like I don't even know how to do the dismissal. I don't know what, we have a brand new reading series and I don't even know what I would have been teaching." And so of course she was really upset. And um I as a mom, you just want to be a fixer. You want to fix everything. And so I just kind of sat there a moment and I said, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out somehow. And then as I was sitting there, it just came to me, maybe I could go and teach for her. I mean, I've taught first grade a long time. I know what I'm doing. Half of my classroom is in her room. I know where everything is.
Hmm.
I've done the beginning of the year many, many times. And so I asked her, I said, do you think your principal would let me come and sub for you? Because I live 2 hours away. But I thought, just as I was thinking out loud, I was thinking, okay, I haven't even looked at my calendar yet before I opened my mouth, but I just knew that that was the right thing to do. And so she said, well, maybe, I don't know. And so she texted her principal and she said, well, if she's serious and she wants to do that, that would be awesome because they're really hurting for subs.
Sure.
And so they had me fill out paperwork, they had me do my background check. And of course, that took time. It took a couple of days, so I couldn't start right away, which was fine because I had to rearrange 2 weeks of my schedule and clear it so that I could come. And so my plan was I was just going to get a hotel room and I was going to stay, at a cheaper hotel and teach. And I was, I got to the point where I was actually really excited about it. And so I got all my background check back, of course. Thank goodness it was all clean.
Yeah.
And
surprise,
all my paperwork
surprise.
out. I have to keep clean because my husband's the chief of police, so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I ended up going to Indianapolis, and so I'm on a different time zone also. So I left at 3 in the morning and went and taught that first day. And the first day was a little bit rough because they had, their real teacher, Emily, and then they've had a sub for a couple of days. And then here's this other lady coming in. And so the first day, I'm not going to lie, was a little bit rough. And also, Emily didn't know what to tell me to do. And so she had the best plans that she could put together. And I was able to spend that weekend getting everything set and ready. And there were so many blessings in this experience because one of the other first grade teachers found out what I was doing. And she said, you know what? We just redid our basement because my family lives in Ohio and we wanted a place for them to stay. It's like a mini apartment. So you are welcome to come and stay there so you don't have to, get a hotel room. And so here was this woman who had only met me once, and she invited me to come and stay in her beautiful home. And so I got to stay there and teach in Emily's room every day. I was able to FaceTime her in so the students could still feel bonded with her, and Emily could see what I was doing. And, it's been so awesome to now be able to sit back here now that I'm done, because she got to come back this week on yesterday, and to be able to just picture her. I was sitting in on faculty meetings. I know all of her staff now. I know her students. I know every single one of their names. I know all of their personalities. And so what an awesome thing to now be able to have experienced her world for a little while and still feel like I get to be a part of that. She has called me, yesterday and today several times asking questions about, well, what did you do for this? And how should I do this? And what do you think about so-and-so's this? And so I just am so thankful that I was able to do that and be there for her. It helped her school. It helped her immensely. And it's just been such an incredible experience. And so I think that was such a great bond for us. And I think something we'll both always remember, her first start to teaching, and that I got to be a small part of that.
False start, as the case may be. Shannon, I can tell that you're just pretty excited about all this. Well, it's kind of hard to tell with you because you radiate such joy all the time, but it is something special. Wow, Mom, good job. When you were kind of rolling this out, I'm thinking, new son-in-law thinking, we moved 2 hours away. And ever since we moved, she's been over here. And when I finally thought, when school started, we'd be rid of her, she's back.
I'm back.
But it worked out that you could stay somewhere else. So that's good too. So, wow, Shannon, what a joy. And it's just reassuring and comforting and refreshing to know that we still have teachers that are passionate about what they're doing, not for the income, but for the outcome. And you have set an example, and I hope that, and I know that you have instilled that and passed that along to your daughter. So maybe there's hope after all. You've got them in the first grade, so, but stay away from the Marine Corps, okay? Shannon, thanks so much for sharing. It's always a pleasure to have you, and we enjoy. And maybe Michelle will go on another vacation, and we can have you back soon or something. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Shannon. Well, folks, that was so much fun, as it always is with Shannon. And I hope you found that interesting and uplifting and encouraging. And if you are in the military, well, just ignore all that. You know you're being trained to kill people and destroy things, so it's a little different, okay? And folks, I know we've kind of gone long, and I see many of you are still in the chat room, our PJNet family. I wanted to give you an update. I've alluded to it, but it is now a certainty. There is going to be a PJNet reunion. Just go ahead and write this down. Get your calendar out. January the 15th. That is a Saturday. And we are going to be chartering a bus from North Carolina that you will be able to ride in comfort with Wi-Fi and air conditioning. Well, air conditioning, I don't think you'll care too much. Now, there's a lot of details that I don't know. And the reason I don't know them is a lot of what we're doing on faith. This event will be a God and Country rally. We are going to be contacting speakers because it's going to run probably about 6 hours, like 2 in the afternoon until 8 p.m. in the evening. And we are going to try, of course, we'll ask to get some kind of notable people, but chances are the answer is going to be no, and that's okay. But we are going to ask, okay? But I don't want you coming to hear the governor of Florida. I don't want you coming to hear, fill in the blank name that we all know and all that. I want people to come because there's a hunger to get together with people like us. Because if things are, our orders are to make disciples. It doesn't say help the big, important, highfalutin celebrities make disciples. We are all supposed to make disciples. So go ahead and start making your plans. And we are taking this literally in faith. And if you are interested in coming, and I'd like to hear from you. We don't have any forms to fill out. We don't have any tickets to sell yet. There's just a million details, but we do have time on our side. But I met with my friend Mark Winchester at the facility, and we just said, let's commit to this in faith. And let's start talking to some people, and let's get that bus coming down this way. And let's just pray that God is with us and blesses us in this. So I'd love to hear from you and what you can do to help. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. What you can do to help. Maybe just coming. Maybe. Okay? All right. Well, I know we went late tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night. I can't wait to hear from you all. Let's make this a life-changing, affirming, encouraging time together, not only for ourselves, but for all those who are impacted. And I promise you, and I'm good on this, I'm good for it, we are going to be rolling the cameras at this event, and you are going. We're not going to broadcast it. Okay, there's copyright issues there. Okay, but we will be making highlight videos by the buku of them. Okay, and we look forward to that. So folks, before I leave, I challenge you to ask yourself these two questions. First, what is the boldest thing you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And second, when was that? Let's not be satisfied with either answer.